Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. Praveen Parmar. First of all, let me welcome our today's speakers, Mr. Janak Kotecha, who is a director at Prithvi Finmart Private Limited, and Ms. Neha Shah, who is an investment advisor from Alpha Wealth Management. And so, welcome Janak, welcome Neha.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining. And participants, so as I have said, it is going to be a complete Q&A session. It's going to be a complete question answer session. And to moderate this particular session, we have the industry expert, Mr. Chirag Khetan with us. And Mr. Chirag is going to moderate this particular entire session. And so Chirag is a partner at KP Shah Associates, and KP Shah Associates is a chartered accountancy firm with having 40 plus years of legacy in tax as well as M&A advisory. And Chirag is having the overall 9+ years of experience with big 4 multinational accounting firms serving various MNC clients. He also advises clients with cross-border tax and regulatory issues having local and global businesses. Thank you, Chirag, for taking out your time and accepting our invitation to moderate this particular session. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Praveen bhai. And thank you, Vyapar Jagat, for this wonderful effort of organizing this seminar at a short time. And I'm so pleased that, in this time where everyone is looking at the valuations, the investment part, where to invest, what is the right, investment strategy, especially considering this COVID time, we could manage to have this kind of webinar at this juncture. So commendable efforts. Thank you so much, Praveen bhai. So as you know, thank you for this introduction as well. So yes, so I think Praveen bhai rightly said that I'm a partner at KP Shah Associates. So KP Shah Associates typically is doing a lot of mergers and acquisitions work. So we are right now also involved in a lot of deal advisory. So as this topic is pertaining to the valuation, so what happens, this is also a challenge for the industry at large, the financial industry, the medical fraternity. But anytime when the the problem comes, the challenges come, there is an opportunity. So greater the challenge, the greater the opportunity. So I think this is a very good time for look at your portfolio where you can invest stocks and stuff like that. So we have industry experts on that particular. So let me have the pleasure of introducing our eminent speakers today on the board. So let me start with Kanak Kotecha. So Kanak Kotecha is a director at Prithvi Finmart Private Limited, which is registered with BSE, NSE, MCX, NCDX, and they also have a RBI registered NBFC, which is providing loans against securities. And Mr. Janak was personally involved in stock market since 2004, and from 2007 he has been running the stock market, stockbroking industry, wherein he has clients of more than 28,000 spread across the country with more than 500 franchisee partners. So he has a commendable years of experience with him and a great distribution network. With us also is Sneha Shah, who is founder of Alpha Wealth Management, and she has a deep experience of mutual funds and financial industry. She has experience of more than 15 years. She did her MBA from Symbiosis, which is a 2 years residential course, and she has been advising in her portfolio, which is 40 crores AUM, asset under management, with 100+ happy clients. So she has been doing a fantastic job. So may I request Sneha Shah to begin with her brief introduction, a brief overview of all of us.
Yeah, thank you Chirag and Praveen for such a nice introduction, and thank you so much Janak for joining. So good afternoon everybody, and hope everybody is safe in their homes and in this COVID regime. So yes, if you ask me my view for this particular economy, the times are unprecedented and the times are tough, but because we know that more than half of the economy is not working, is not functioning right now, and that is obviously going to impact the economy, which is very natural. But yes, if we talk about 2 months back, when the lockdown had started, we did not have any clue about what is happening. But as the 2 months started passing by, the clarity started coming in. And as and when the months still pass by, the clarity will only become more and more. to know better about the situation of the economy, let us go through my view on GDP. For all those who don't know GDP is the best measure to know about how the economy is going to work, and it actually includes everything that is produced by any farmer till any company, which comes into that GDP. So according to me, I think that the GDP, as what is going on right now, is going to contradict by 5 to 7% at least. If I talk about big corporates and small corporates, the bigger corporates they specifically will see a lot of decline in their profitability, because specifically those corporates who have a lot of fixed cost will have a lot of tough time. If we talk about smaller corporates, then the smaller corporates, I believe, are going to go through a lot of tough times if they are not able to, cope up with the COVID regime because of the fixed cost and stuff. So either they will merge with some other companies, or they will make for the other companies to go ahead. So a lot of merger and acquisitions will also happen in this year, and a lot of interesting stuff will happen in this year. What I believe is that this year is going to be very volatile, and we, for any kind of calculation for even the economy, we should be discounting this year. But in spite of all these glitches, in every darkness, there is even a ray of light finishes the whole darkness. So there are a lot of good news also. If you talk about India as an emerging economy, India is very well placed as an emerging country. It is very uniquely placed. If you see, we are very large importers of oil per se traditionally, and the demand, because of the COVID regime and all the other kind of happenings, the demand for the oil went down, and hence the prices have drastically went down. This has highly benefited India, and it can benefit the balance of payment in a big way. Again, India is a big manufacturer in terms of pharma sector. So in this COVID regime, even that can help our economy in a very good way. So I believe that the interest rates should go down, because even once the lockdown starts opening and people will start doing transactions, then the economy will start flowing. But still, there will be a lot of people who will not go out of their houses, lot of people who will work from home, and the traffic will be less. So I believe that interest rate cutting will only help in giving a spurt to the economy working. So I think that should come. All in all, I think it is a very good time to invest in equity, because such opportunities we don't get again and again. As an advisor, we always our role is to, because there are a lot of people who are very scared. As an advisor, our role is to educate everybody, to ensure that when everybody is scared, we educate people and ask them to take educative and proper informed calls. So like giving you an example, if there is, I always tell this, it's very favorite, whenever there is discount in the market, everybody rushes to buy clothes, even if they don't have any after sales value, or they depreciate. So today there is a discount in the market, and instead of getting scared, it is a very good time to be in the market, to average out the purchase prices. Suppose you bought something at 100 rupees, it is a very good time to buy something at 50 rupees, so that your average purchase price comes down to 75, and you start making money earlier when the market starts shooting up. So I would like to end with that. It's a very favorite quote of mine, which I always say, that opportunity and crisis always come together, because they are very good friends. But we have always seen that a crisis comes with opportunity, and we have to have this that strength to take the benefit of that opportunity, because opportunity comes very rare. And as Warren Buffett always says, that whenever there is opportunity in the market, you should, and if it rains gold, you should put out the bucket and not the thimble. So with this, I am done with my views, and I would like to hand over to Chirag again.
Great. That was really interesting and useful, because such insights are always so pleasure to hear you, Sneha. Great, thank you so much. So Janak, I will hand it over to you. We would like to have your macro view on what do you look at this COVID scenario and what people should be looking at.
Sure. Thank you for having me here. Thank you to the Vyapar team. for this lovely opportunity that we have. Generally, the answers to the future lie in history. And as Chirag rightly mentioned, that we have seen 2008, that was a financial crisis. But this crisis is due to a pandemic. And we have to go back, 100 years, 1919, and none of us were there at that time. And we have hardly any data for that. So, I mean, as why the market crashed so much? Because market did not know the exact loss. I mean, a lot of us must be aware, we had a tsunami in Japan 6 years back. What happens in a finite event like a tsunami, earthquake, the market knows the exact loss the economy is going to go through. But in a case like a pandemic like Corona, we don't know what exactly the losses are going to be. So we had a huge loss. Now, slowly, the market is realizing, and that is why you see a lot of negative views coming in the market, surprising on the upside. The good bounce not only in India. In fact, if you see the American indices, especially the Nasdaq, it is signaling it's almost like to its lifetime high. And the Dow Jones is not. So what is the market trying to help out of this pandemic? So you see Nasdaq outperforming. Even in India, stocks, which, say a Naukri.com, or say a IndiaMart, which use technology as its, they are back to its 52-week highs. So the market is trying to tell you the companies which are going to use technology to help themselves are going to survive. One more important point, every bear market and then the bull market, the stocks don't perform the next bull market. So was the leader in the last 10, 11 years. So you see the housing finance companies, the small finance banks, they all delivered fantastic returns. I mean, there were 50, 100 baggers. I think their best time is behind for the next 3, 4, 5 years. I don't see them doing well. What I see for sure, Sneha hinted that manufacturing sector as a whole should do wonders. There are a lot of sectors, in our interactions, in our Q&A, I'll be highlighting a lot of stocks, probably a lot of sectors where I think, we should be focusing at. I don't know. I mean, Chirag bhai asked me when we will see 40. I don't know important. I need to understand this. We need to look at stocks which can give returns. Japan had a bear market from 1989 2017, but it was 25, 30 years, and their indices never hit a new high. But a lot of stocks give multi-bagger returns. So it's time that we stop focusing on the indices, start focusing on the sectors which can do well. Really highlight that as and when the questions, the Q&A session starts.
Very well summarized. He mentioned that it is much different than a Lehman Brothers crisis because it is a global pandemic and the actual quantum of loss is, very much difficult to gauge because, this is something which all are struggling to find in solution. But as also, I will also agree with the Sensex theory, which you said that the particular indices should be focused on. Like we have seen the examples of Reliance. These days Reliance has done so many deals and the valuation has suddenly gone up. So the Jio thing which happened with Reliance and so a lot of companies which are the new entrants, so to say, in the market are also getting so much attention because basis their performance, their overall valuation, it will have an impact on the market. What we have is 25 minutes of Q&A session. And probably, as we said in the beginning, it is an interactive session completely. It is without any presentation, without any monologue. We want to create it as interactive as possible. Yes, no problem. So I think we have already questions coming in. So
great.
Yeah. So the first question is from Shivam Mehrotra, and she asked that how is the agri sector supposed to grow during and post COVID? Any thoughts on that?
Brilliant question. So the agri sector should do very well. I mean, unlike the other recessions, I mean, if you look at the 2-3 recessions that happened in India, the agri sector was the one which was hit the hardest. But now the agri sector is the one which is leading. So yesterday the GDP data were released. I think the agri was the only sector which was actually grew with the mining sector. So I think the agri sector should do well. A lot of agri stocks should start doing well. I think food processing as an industry will be doing great. So you should be looking at the good fertilizer shares. I mean, a good conglomerate like Coromandel International looks good. So these are some stocks. Problem. So I have a very firm opinion. Yesterday the dollar index broke 98. So the US has printed a lot of money. And I think if you see 1919 or any other recession, once the Fed starts printing a lot of money in the coming 3, 4, 5 years, you see a lot of inflation coming in. And I think this time a lot of inflation will come in food prices as well. So, I mean, I don't know, pehle log bolte the that the farmers will fly in aeroplanes. I mean, I don't think they're going there, but this is going to be a reality that farm is going to give a lot of, is going to surprise people on the upside. So probably you can look at good sugar stocks, good fertilizer shares. I think they will, but obviously look at good management. I just named Coromandel International as to be one of the good stocks that you can look at.
Great. I think this would address lot many concerns for the agri sector industry, and very well summarized, Janak bhai. Yeah. I would like to take up the second question, which is from Priyanka Shah, and which is specifically addressed to Sneha. It says that with so many businesses down, travel and tourism, etc., being affected, and lowest GDP of 2% in the year, are we on the verge of recession? So, Sneha, would you like to take this up?
Yeah. So, thank you for the question, Priyanka. I think she had asked me this question earlier also. She meant what this meant was in the earlier that she wanted to know that if there are so many problems in over the world, if you are pointing to that, why are the markets going up? If there is a recession, that is what she meant to ask me earlier also. And to answer to this, Priyanka, see, when the COVID started, all the markets across the globe started falling down. If we talk about China, India, US, if we compare all the markets, when India had just 10, 15, 20,000 cases, the markets already fell by 30%. And if we talk about US markets, US fell by 30% after a lot more cases, 10 times cases than India had. So what I'm trying to say is that only with 10, 15, 20,000 cases, in India's market fell by 30% to around 26, 20,000, 27,000 levels in Sensex, because we factored everything that is going to happen in the future before it happened. What I'm trying to say is all the NAVs in the funds or all the stock prices were factored before the events happened. Now what happened is because because all the you will see the markets are down by 30%, 40% in India specifically, I'm saying, because they were pre-factored. Now what is happening now? See, the economy started opening up. And because the economy slowly started opening up and the things started moving, whatever over factoring was done started getting reversed. Still, we are not at the peak of it. But to answer this question, you want to know if we are heading towards the next recession. So see, we are in a dark jungle right now, okay? And we don't know where we are walking. We don't know where the light or the path will come. Nobody knows at the highest or the biggest level. If you had heard to Warren Buffett, say in a month back when he was saying, and that is a 42-page article on Google, if you can go and read through it, Warren Buffett had mentioned specifically with the dates that in 1929-30, there was the Dow was, if you talk about the US market, the Dow was somewhere around 350 in the bull run. And this crashed to around 200. The Dow crashed to around 200. Now, eventually the markets recovered and the Dow came back to 250. So everybody in the economy, the people, they thought that this is the worst that we've seen in the markets. And now at that point of time, from 300 to 200 is a big deal, or ab kuch nahi hone wala. But so everybody started, like in current market in India, is coming back, investing, and thinking that the markets are going by. But will the recession come? After 2 years, that 250 Dow went down to 40. That is an 80% decline. So he says, anything can happen. What we also as advisors tell everybody that the chances are very less. We are very optimistic. But if you want to invest, if you have 100 rupees in your pocket, do not invest all 100 in one tranche. At every dip, invest 10 rupees, and you will be able to get a benefit of all the dips that come in the market. So that is how you will be able to average out your NAV. But don't worry about recession, because any recession the market always has a 7-year cycle. Okay, where if you study what we have, you will get to know. You go back in history and you can do your own Google search, and you will know that after every 7 years the curve has gone up, down, up, down. It has never stayed down. So if you talk about equities, 1 or 2 years at any point of time, if you have to discount from your life and just ignore them, it is okay, because equities always have a longer horizon. And I always say that it is not timing the market that matters. It is the time in the market that you spend that really matters. So you don't really have to worry about the recession and stuff, because Warren Buffett has that kind of theory, which is also related to his age. Now, he was different earlier. At 25, you will think different. At 50, you will think different. At 90, you will think different. He is 90 now. He has a lot of responsibilities. Suppose he has claims in his insurance and stuff up to 10, 20%, 30% also. Still, he will have to give $1 billion money to the people who have invested into him. And he doesn't want to take any money from anybody. So that is why, and he wants to have everything on his own. That is why even 135 billion of cash reserve is lesser for him. So his view is different, but at our age, our view will be different. So, what I'm trying to say is that the darkness will go and the light will come back. We have to have patience for this 1 year and not and keep investing in tranches. I hope this answers your question.
Right. So there is certainly, we all are hoping for the light at the end of the tunnel, and we are very hopeful, and so we are on this conference call, I believe. So great summary. I think very nicely summarized, Sneha, once again.
Yes,
I'm sure that would have addressed the query. So I think the next question is from Akshay Shah, which says that, do you think that this pandemic is going to lead to consolidation and mergers of companies to avoid bankruptcy? I think this is a very pertinent question, and let me respond to this question which Akshay Shah has raised. So typically there are 2-3 things which I would like to mention over here. One is the regulatory front, the bankruptcy code. So typically the government of India has been supporting the businesses, and in that process they have also said that for a period of almost a year, they are not allowed, no company or no creditor is allowed to file a bankruptcy case. But keeping that apart, very good time for consolidations picking up. So as we are discussing about the stock market, so at the corporate level, we are actually right now dealing with a couple of many industry players, specifically in real estate, where not many deals are happening, not many tractions are happening. They are looking for good investment opportunities, good projects, and there are two sets of corporates, I would say. One who has been struggling because of this GST, then demonetization, then this COVID. So suddenly they are out of cash. Suddenly they do not have very much visibility about their future projections. And then there is another set of corporates who are having a good surplus money or good cash. So cash is king in this time in the COVID scenario. So it is a very good time for them to evaluate such kind of opportunities, buying opportunities, target such kind of companies. And though the bankruptcy code will not be playing part because of the regulatory advent, but still there are many pre-pack arrangements which are being happening. So there are discussions in the closed rooms which are happening on a very frequent basis. So to be very honest, in the last 2 months, the deals team workload has increased tremendously, I would say, because every now and then people are, because they are completely free from their business operations, they are looking for diversification. They have good cash balance with them. So today they are also looking for backward integration, forward integration. Also, they are looking for different industry as well. So just to give a classic example, not many textile manufacturers have started thinking on, why are they just manufacturing shirting and suiting? Why are not they doing any kind of, COVID related stuff? So they have started going into pharma industry, exploring those industries. So there are a lot many tractions which are happening in the mergers and acquisitions front. So yes, Akshay bhai, you are right that this pandemic is certainly going to lead a lot of mergers and acquisitions deal, and this is the real life scenario which we are facing right now. And there are also many corporates who have complex structure in itself. Like there are 5-6 companies that they have, and then suddenly they are going back to the drawing room and trying to evaluate that is it worth to have such kind of huge structure within themselves. is it not making sense to consolidate them so as to avoid the local compliances issues or other expenses which are coming up with creating a new companies. Also, there are demergers which are happening. So there might be a scenario where there are 5-6 business models which are closely interrelated in one company. So one of the companies getting hived off. So those kind of scenarios are also happening. I think this is a summary of I think what Akshay Bhai wanted to ask. I hope this would have addressed your query. Second question which we have is from Rashida Batawala, who asks that many mutual fund companies gone down. So what is the scenario or effect on the investors? I think Sneha, would you like to take this up?
Yes, sure. Rachina already said that because of the COVID, this is a pandemic, and markets globally have reacted and have gone down by 30-40%. Economy is not moving, and hence, if there is no flow of money, if there is no transaction happening, the companies' NAVs are going to go down, and hence the mutual funds who have invested in all these companies will also go down. But we all know that prior to this also, the world has faced Lehman, 9/11, Ebola, SARS, swine flu, and we have gone through everything, and there are so many charts which show that at that point of time also the market had dipped what dip we have seen right now, and at that point of time also we had gone through the depression, and we thought that we will not come back, but we came back very beautifully. We never thought we'll see the 40K level in Sensex or the 10K level, 12K level in Nifty, and we saw. So I always see that if the markets are falling, it is a very good opportunity, and I reiterate that opportunities will come very rarely. So you, instead of being scared, if you take informed and educative decision and go into the right stocks and the right mutual funds, you will only benefit out of this situation, and there is nothing to be really scared about it. This will come back.
Right. Rightly mentioned again. So I think there is one more question. Which
so I would like to give some figures on this, Chirag, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
That if we talk about similar such diseases, like there was SARS, swine flu, and COVID. If we compare only these three, if you go and look at the data, the fatality that happened because of SARS was 10%. Swine flu was 30%. COVID is hardly 2%, right? But what is playing here with everybody's mind is the fear. So fear is more dangerous than COVID actually. So we should only if we maintain some self hygiene and some self discipline, we can easily get out of COVID, and hardly 1% of cases go into the ventilation mode. Right. Otherwise, most of the cases are discharged, and 85% of the cases are mild cases. Right. So once a vaccine comes out of it, and we will see a V-shaped recovery is what I feel.
Right. Completely agree. Right. So yeah, there is one more, I think, question from Manish Saluja, which asks that everything depends on consumption. With so many businesses down and job loss, how do we plan to recover despite being a better economy compared to others? Even China being a larger economy fears this. This is specifically a question to Janak. So Janak bhai, would you like to take this up?
Yeah, surely. It's a very good question. So as I told you, see, we are here talking stocks. I mean, we are here talking sectors. So Mr. Manish is completely right. That the consumption is going to be hit very badly. But except India, I mean, we all know the reactions to the package that was announced by the government. But except India, everywhere else, a lot of fiscal stimulus has been provided. And I think that in India also, a lot more fiscal stimulus will be provided, and that should help the consumption come back. Or may I use the word crawl back? I mean, it is not going to go back to where where we were 4 months back or 5 months back. People's patterns, spending patterns are going to change. Their savings patterns are going to change. Probably their incomes are going to change. So that is where that lies the biggest risk to the market. And if you see before COVID, the consumption stocks were at very high P's. So I mean, a lot of them were at very high P's. I'll make a very small point here. What was the Indian market betting? Indian market was betting that what does India require right now? India requires a lot the middle class to grow. I mean, if you see the tax data, 5 to 10 crore people pay taxes. We require this figure to go to 25-30 crores. How can that be done? By creating jobs. And the only way I see that coming back is probably, you know, the government having a lot of focus to the manufacturing sector. A lot of newspapers these days say that how companies like Apple or these people are going to shift a lot of their facilities here. A lot might come true, a lot might not come true, because, you know, to have the supply side issue like what the China has, what they have set up, it's very difficult to replicate. So I think if you are talking about stocks, you have to be very, very careful in the consumption stock, and you have to see the valuations, and then you have to take a call.
Right, and just to supplement, Janak bhai, what you have nicely summarized, I think having that perspective of, you know, many companies from China are shifting to India these days, or planning, rather, they are already on the drawing board. We have so many news coming in, you know, that large companies are shifting their base. So that also indirectly helps the Indian economy, because what happens, you know, though it might not directly be targeting the Indian consumer, shifting manufacturing base creates a job opportunity to a great extent. Tax collections also go high. And there are many cases where they are doing 100% export. So it might not be necessary that, you know, completely they would be only looking at the consumption market. Of course, India being a huge consumption market, so who's and who of the world are looking at India as always been looking at. So that is always going to be there. But just to add to that, even if they see that the consumption is going to go down, especially which are not into the essential services, still there is a very good potential which India has. Right. So I think there is one more question which is from Swapnil Trivedi. It says that I have recently heard a term named REITs recently, which is something like real estate investment bonds. Can you brief about it a bit, and how recommended is it? So let me just give a very brief on REITs, and then probably I will ask Sneha to further brief on the investment part. So REITs are typically a SEBI registered vehicle, wherein there are a lot of developed properties in which the REITs can invest. So then the REIT is a structure, a trust structure essentially, and then a lot of investors can invest in those trusts, and those trusts can further invest into the developed property. The model of earning from the investor perspective is to get the rental. So basically, the trust will get the rental from the what will happen as a structure? The trust will have developed property. The developed property will be rented out, and from that the income will be generated, which will be distributed to the investors. So in this context, I will also like to add that in this Atmanirbhar scheme, which government has announced as a part of combating the COVID measures, they have also briefly touched upon the affordable rental scheme. So it is beyond the affordable housing. So I think those are a better, I would say, a value proposition, because affordable rental typically they have pitched in to bring more construction activities into the real estate front. So what limited we gather from the REIT industry, it has not been able to get so much of success the way it has been launched. REITs and InvITs, both of these models which are SEBI registered, but those are not very commonly been there in the market. But of course, I would like to like Sneha to further add on what are her take on this.
I agree to what you said Chirag, and I don't have any points to add on this further.
Right. Janak bhai, would you like to add something on REITs?
Yeah.
No, I think you have covered it quite a lot. I think a lot of regulatory changes have to be done, no doubt about it. Lesser countries have a better participation in REITs. So I think it's the need of the hour. I mean, the capital has to come in from outside, and you have to bring the sector out. I mean, a lot depends on the real estate sector. So many other sectors are dependent on it, and it's a huge job creating thing. So I think a lot has to be done, and I think would be done.
Right.
Agree. Yes.
Perfect. So we have another question from Avilasha, which is for Sneha, which says that there are reports that by September Sensex will go back to 26,000. So she wants your opinion on that, Sneha.
Hi Abhilasha. So I was recently listening to the head of Motilal, Baba Ramdev, and your question reminds me that even this question was asked to him also. And what he answered is that nobody can predict the market 10 on 10. Okay. So this is exactly what I would like to tell you. Nobody can predict the market 10 on 10. The recent example that I gave you of Warren Buffett's article, which said that everybody thought that 250 Dow was the bottommost market that they saw. But then the market went down to, the Dow went down to 40, which is like 80% drop. Sometimes you just can't predict. You never know how the monsoons go. After the monsoons, how does the COVID react? It is only, are we ourselves maintaining the hygiene and the everything that we should be maintaining? You know, how are the cases going? It all depends on that. But there is a possibility that you can see the in post monsoon the 27,000 levels again. And even if you do, even if there is one, again I reiterate, it is only going to be an opportunity, because at every dip, out of that 100 rupees, the 10 rupees should be invested in a very educated and a very informed manner. So if it does, yes, you should, because COVID is working a lot on fear, as I said. Otherwise, there was recently a data which I was going through, which said that in the last 3 months, the deaths due to COVID were 3 lakh globally. But the deaths due to a similar kind of disease, which is malaria or swine flu in the same family, was 4 lakh and 5 lakh, right? And the death due to cancer and smoking was like 8 lakh and 15 lakhs, right? So they are even more dangerous. But still, people are suffering from cancer, people are smoking, you know, what I'm trying to say is the death due to COVID were the minimum if you talk into that category. So the fear is playing a lot of role here, and a lot can happen if we overcome our fear together, you know. So even if that level comes after monsoon, there is nothing to be very sad about it. Take it as an opportunity and invest your money.
Right. As Sneha always mentioned that, you know, start investing at least small but in regular intervals, right? Perfect.
Yes.
So I think, yes. So there is one more question to Janak Bhai. How do you see chemical stock performing? There has been a good run in the past. Would it still continue? This is a question from Manish Salujani.
Correct. So I think, as I told you in my introductory speech, that I see the chemical, the manufacturing as a whole doing well. So chemical is a vast subject. I mean, if you ask the expert, every chemical is different from the other, and you have to see, you have to be very company specific in this. But for sure, the sector as a whole should do wonders for the next 4-5 years. I think there's a lot of catch up to do, especially on the API side. I think there are a lot of companies I think that can do well, and that is definitely a sector which you should be focusing on.
Right. Perfect. So there is another question from Karshit Dattani, which says that what about oil marketing companies? What will be their approach towards their growth and survival after huge reduction in oil prices?
Okay, I think that is for me. Yeah, correct. So the oil demand will come back somewhere in the near future. I mean, I think the toll collections are 70-80% back to the pre-COVID levels. The electricity demand is, I think, just 10% away from the pre-COVID levels. I mean, these are very important parameters to see the economic activity. And so again, their oil demand also will give a lot of direction to the same. Specific to the oil marketing companies, I think I think most of your excise duty hikes have happened. The market is probably waiting that the margins are getting impacted or not, because when the crude falls so much, the GRMs, the gross refining margins, as they say, that gets impacted a lot. But I think that should correct itself in the next couple of months. What will be the key trigger? The key trigger will be whether BPCL can be privatized. That is what was the big trigger that the government had announced before Corona. Last year. And it was looking that that would be happening this year. But, post-Corona, I don't know, how many people would be looking at the oil assets. But, even if you hear the buzz of that, so I think they should do well. So a stock like a BPCL, once BPCL happens, I'm sure HPCL, IOC, they are very good stocks. But can they be multi-baggers from here? I'm not very sure.
Okay. But it is not that straightforward, right? As always. Right. So I think there is one more question for Sneha specifically. How much of the individual portfolio should be in cash reserves considering such pandemic occurs in future? This is a question from Akshay Shah.
This is a very common question that I'm facing right now with my clients, that how much should we keep in cash ratio? What if we suffer from COVID and we want to go to a private hospital, and a private hospital is charging at least 8 to 10 lakhs for that, treatment if you are suffering from COVID. So yes, empathy always comes first, and we never say that, don't keep cash ratios and just invest everything. You really need to have some liquidity right now in your hand, enough liquidity to ensure that it can be in the form of even FDs, because if you have FDs, it's easy to take out that money from that FD, nothing which is there in lock-in or a long-term kind of thing. So if you're any FD money or any money which is into debt funds, there are funds which does not have any lock-in. These are ultra short-term funds. If you invest today and you can take out your money tomorrow, and they are liquid kind of funds wherein you get better returns than FDs also. And such liquid money has to be there which covers your family apart from the medical claim that you have. Post that, if you have money to invest, you should invest, but that money should be kept in the reserve, because there is a lot of impact I feel on the wages also. Recently I was reading in an article that GoAir has cut the wages of its senior employees by 65%. TCS told 30% of its employees to work from home. So many hospitals are giving only half salary to the doctors. Okay, so all this is happening. So your money income will come less, okay, and so you really need to manage that. You cannot finish off your liquidity, and so that when you need it, it is there to be used. But it makes no sense to keep that liquid money into your savings account. So I would always recommend that you park that into a liquid fund, which gives you much better return than your savings account, almost double the return than your savings account, and that would address your query.
Yes, Neha, so there is one more connected question. So I would like to take this up here. So Vishal Motwani has a question. So should we invest more in gold in this pandemic, or stocks are more recommended? So I think this is a supplemental to what you just mentioned. So I just thought I will take this up.
Yeah, so recently gold has come up as a very good sector, I would say. It has given very good returns. Until this pandemic stays, till the volatility stays, till there is no certainty, whenever you would see historically, whenever there is no certainty in the market and everybody is scared, gold performs. So the key to this is, but I always tell to all my clients that you should have a very balanced portfolio in your in your books, because if you have a balanced portfolio, so it's not that you should just have money in gold or you should just have money in mutual fund. You should have money in each and every investment that is there available in the market. And only if you have a balanced portfolio, a mix of equities, stocks, debt, mutual funds, gold, etc. So when such pandemic occurs, you will also be impacted, and the other person will also be impacted. The impact on you will always be lesser.
Correct.
So time when you will not buy anything else, but you will have to take a right call to stop that and take out and book that profit out of that gold also. And meanwhile, also invest into stocks and equity mutual funds, because they are really less valued, and this is a great opportunity. For aisa na ho that after 20, in 2030 or 40, you are sitting and looking back at 2020, and you realize that jo mistake maine 2008 mein kiya tha, वही mistake मैंने 2020 में किया. Wish I had invested in the 8,000 market, and wish I had invested in the 26,000.
Right.
So you should always allocate.
And for that, we would definitely need a financial expert like you, Sneha, because it will not be the cup of tea of everyone.
Yeah.
So I think,
can I take that question on gold? I mean,
yeah, please.
I have if the dollar index breaks 96, and I see that happening, and if inflation comes up, gold is one of the best hedges for inflation, and that is why I think that you see a small announcement by the president that we are near to the vaccine. Till the gold does not collapse. I mean, it should have collapsed, because if it was just for the pandemic, I think what the market is signaling that if inflation comes back, gold might surprise us on the upside. So if there's any trader out there, a lot of people do a lot of trading in gold and stuff. So you should look at this dollar index very, very closely. I mean, the dollar index, I think, is the most important thing to be seen for the next 6 months or 12 months. And I think that is where you'll make a lot of money in equities, especially emerging markets and commodities. I mean, you won't be surprised if we see a very big bull market if 96 breaks on the dollar index in the entire emerging market, like Brazil, India, and such other countries.
Right, that was really useful and insightful. Thank you so much for adding that.
Yeah.
Great. So I think there is one more question from Dinesh Lakhara, which says that almost all stocks currently at their low, which is 30 to 70%. Which industry do you think will grow faster once the market opens? I think Janak.
I'll take that. I told you pharma is something that we should look at. Why pharma? I'll do this very quickly. I'll mention a few sectors and also some stocks if that can help our audience. I think pharma. The medical infrastructure across the globe. What the world realized that after the pandemic, we were not ready for such a large pandemic. You can see not only in India but even in the Western countries, they were not so ready. Say ventilators and stuff like that. So I think a lot more budgetary allocations will start happening for the pharma. And that is why I think the pharma is coming out of a 4-5 year consolidation. A lot of good pharma stocks should perform well. I think there are stocks called Dixon and Amber. I mean, I'm ready to have my head chopped off in 2023, 24, 25. I think these two stocks, either one of them will be the leaders of the next bull market. I mean, Dixon Technologies, for our viewers who don't track this stock, it's a 4,600 rupee stock. What it does is, it manufactures our TV sets, our mobile phones for these large companies like Samsung and other such companies. The MI TV is doing well in the last 6 months. So Dixon is something which can do quite well. I think in financials, I'm not that bullish, but in non-lending financials like life insurance, I think that sector is something we should look at, the life insurance sector. I'm also very bullish on steel and cement. I think I'll come back to the point. I'm trying to hammer that point of dollar index. Viewers, if once dollar index breaks 96, we'll be surprised how commodities fly. And if commodities fly, you don't know, probably the Tata Steel languishing at 250, 300. No one likes it right now. Probably we might see it at 800, 900. These stocks are generally cyclical in nature. So I think metals is something that you should definitely have a view on. So last in the cycle, I think capital goods and then real estate. I think these two sectors will be the dark horses which can do very well.
Right. I think not many industries you have covered, Janak bhai. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
I think we are running short of time, but still questions are coming in on my private chat as well. So we'll try to see how many. I think 1 or 2 questions maximum we can take. So one of the question is from Deepen, and he says that we see that recently companies such as Vedanta, Adani Power are going for voluntary delisting due to attractive valuations for the company. How can we as an individual investors benefit out of it, if at all? So I think, Janak bhai, this is an interesting question which has been posed. So
correct.
Please.
So if I have to answer specifically on Vedanta, the floor price is say 87, 88. The stock is at 90. So yes, you can. If the delisting has to happen, this will not happen at 87, 90 or 88. That is there's a SEBI price. It will happen at least 30-40% higher. But it is giving you a signal that a lot of promoters want to see what will happen with the stocks. So, so wherever you see undervaluation, all the sectors that I've performed, there's a data which comes every day saying insider buying or the promoter buying. This is something we should definitely look at. Chirag bhai, I'll tell you what we have at Prithvi have done is, we have taken sectors which will the COVID probably will help them, and there will be some sectors which COVID will probably destroy. But even in those sectors, say hospitality, today no one wants to buy a hospitality stock, but we have a casino player which is based in Goa. It is doing a buyback at 100. It's a debt-free company. Do you think that all of us are meant to be staying at homes? The answer is no. So specific companies over there might give you long-term opportunities in the future. They might not do well in the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, but for sure they can give you a lot of return for the next 2, 3, 4 years. and I'm talking about Delta Corp here. I mean, at 70, 75, I don't know what it will do in the next 2-3 months, but it is the only gaming industry stock available. It has no debts. I think it's 30% of the market cap. It holds as cash on hand. So these are stocks you should definitely look at.
Very nice. So I think this is very informative. And as you rightly mentioned, lot of things also depends on particular industry, but particular stock. So it depends. So valuation is ultimately a mindset game. How do you look at the future? As you rightly mentioned, that the hospitality segment or the tours and travels are currently not in a good shape. But how do you look at the future? As you rightly said, that you are not going to stay at home for your life. It has to open. So right, as also Sneha was mentioning, that this COVID-19 thing has happened. But if the lockdown is not getting opened and economy is not flowing through, automatically people will get frustrated, and so many deaths will be reported otherwise around the corner. The data which she was suggesting. So I think ask Dr. Praveen Bhai to see to summarize this webinar.
Correct. So Chirag Bhai, so what we can do is, so I think it's a really great session today we have, and thank you Janak and Sneha for sharing insights and answering all the questions. I think most of the questions you have taken in a very rightly manner. Thank you once again. Thank you Janak Bhai, thank you Sneha, and especially thank you Chirag for taking out your time and moderating the entire session. And before I will leave, so experts, we would generally leave with a positive quote, right? So I request Janak or Sneha to leave this particular session, with a positive quote.
Yeah, so as Sneha rightly said, and I'll tell it in Hindi, अच्छे भाव और अच्छी खबर साथ में नहीं आती, तो शायद ये अच्छे भाव का समय है. Take the advantage of it, and we will conquer. The human race is much larger than this.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Janak. I think that is the rightly quote you have said to all our participants and to all the viewers, those who are viewing online on Vyapar Jagat page, as well as this is going to be on the Vyapar Jagat TV very soon. Thank you everyone for participating in today's webinar and asking very interesting questions. Thank you, Janak. Thank you, Sneha and Chirag Bhai. Thank you so much. Have a great evening to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Thank you, Janak, Chirag, and Praveen, and to all the viewers. And be the change that you want to see. See you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.